Good. Okay, this is about the Peacock Sutta, Mora. This is talking about a backsliding monk who had tried, and he said that, why are you thinking of quitting the monkhood? And he said, well, I've seen a woman dressed up in magnificent attire. So he said he'd gone into town and there was a woman there who was very sexy looking, and so I decided to give it up. That's why I quit. And he said, and the Buddha didn't sort of go, get into him. He said, well, I'm not surprised. He said, even wise men who for 700 years had done no sin, 700 years is like a lot of lifetimes, on hearing a woman's voice only, have transgressed in a moment like this. So he's good at understanding and forgiving. I can understand how that is. I know what you're up against. So he tells the story that once upon a time when Brahmadatta was king of Benares, Brahmadatta was king of Benares. They were all the kings of Benares were called Brahmadatta. So it's just like a phrase. Otherwise you keep learning it. Brahmadatta's been around a long time. The Bodhisattva came into this world as a peacock. So he's a Bodhisattva. So he's got like a very, very powerful karma behind him. He's had many different lifetimes perfecting. But he became a king at one time, but a little bit of transgression. Bodhisattvas are imperfect. He's become a peacock, but still he's got this building up this energy to become a Buddha. The egg which contained him had a shell as yellow as a kanikara bud, and when he broke the shell, he became a golden peacock, fair and lovely, with beautiful red lines under his wings. To preserve his life, he traversed 3 ranges of hills, and in the 4th he settled on a plateau of a golden hill in Dandaka. When day dawned, as he sat upon the hill, watching the sun rise, he composed a Brahma spell to preserve himself safe in his own feeding ground. The charm beginning there, he rises, there he rises, king, and this is the chant that's done in the morning. There he rises, king all-seeing, making all things bright with his golden light. Thee I worship, glorious being, making all things bright with thy golden light. Keep me safe, I pray, through the coming day. To give you an idea about the function of this, when I do arms round, I often do a light kasina for walking with, and it's very much along the same like this. It's not that you're looking at the sun and going, necessarily. You can make a light kasina in your mind, and the strength of that concentration is more than enough to keep you through. You can get quite a good calm state from that in this kind of way, and it would guard you against all kind of distraction. But they're using the sun. Worshipping the sun on this wise by the verse recited here, he repeats another in worship of the Buddhas who have passed away, and all their virtues. All saints, the righteous, wise and holy Lord, these do I honour and their aid implore. All honour to the wise, to wisdom honour be, to freedom, and to all that freedom has made free. Some imagery of that. Uttering this chant to keep himself in harm, the peacock went feeding. So after flying about all day, he came back at even and sat on the hilltop to see the sun go down. Then as he meditated, he uttered another spell to preserve himself and keep off evil. The one beginning, there he sets, which is the kind of other half of it. There he sets, the king all-seeing. He that makes all bright with golden light. Thee I worship, glorious being, making all things bright with thy golden light. Through the night as through the day, keep me safe, I pray. All saints, the righteous, wise and holy Lord, these do I honour and their aid implore. All honour to the wise, to wisdom honour be, to freedom, and to all that freedom has made free. So, uttering this chant, to keep himself from harm, the peacock fell asleep, feeling safe and sound. Now there was a savage who lived in a certain village of wild huntsmen near Benares. Wandering about among the Himalaya hills, he noticed the Bodhisattva perched upon the golden hill of Dandaka, and told it to his son. It so befell that on a day one of the wives of the king of Benares, Kima by name, saw in a dream a golden peacock holding a religious discourse. This she told to the king, saying that she longed to hear the discourse of the golden peacock. The king asked his courtiers about it, and the courtiers said, the Brahmins will be sure to know. The Brahmins said, yes, there are golden peacocks. When asked where, they replied, the hunters will be sure to know. The king called the hunters together and asked them. Then this hunter answered, O Lord King, there is a golden hill in Dandaka, and there a golden peacock lives. Then bring it here, kill it not, but just take it alive. The hunter set snares in the peacock's feeding ground, but even when the peacock stepped upon it, the snare would not close. This the hunter tried for 7 years, but catch him he could not, and then he died. And King Kima too died without obtaining a wish. The king was wroth because his queen had died for the sake of a peacock. He caused an inscription to be made upon a gold plate to this effect: among the Himalaya mountains is a golden hill in Dandaka. There lives a golden peacock, and whosoever to eat its flesh becomes ever young and immortal. This he enclosed in a casket. After his death, the next king read this inscription and thought, I will become ever young and immortal. So he sent another hunter like the first. This hunter failed to capture the peacock and died in the quest. In the same way, the kingdom was ruled by 6 successive kings. Then a 7th arose, who also sent for the hunter. The hunter observed that when the golden peacock came into the snare, it did not shut to. And also that he recited a charm before setting out in search of food, the peacock. Off he went to the marches and caught a pea-hen, which he trained to dance when he clapped his hands, and at snap a finger to utter her cry. Then, taking her along with him, he set the snare, fixing it upright in the ground early in the morning, before the peacock had recited its charm. Then he made the pea-hen utter a cry. This unwanted sound, the female's note, woke desire in the peacock's breast. Leaving his charm unsaid, completely forget them, he came towards her and was caught in the net. Then the hunter took hold of him and conveyed him to the king of Benares. The king was delighted at the peacock's beauty and ordered a seat to be placed for him. Sitting on the prophet's seat, the Bodhisattva asked, "Why did you have me caught, O king?" "Because they say all that eat of you become immortal and have eternal youth. So I wish to gain youth eternal and immortality by eating of you," said the king. "So be it. Granted that all who eat of me become immortal and have eternal youth, but that means I must die." A paradox, isn't it? "Of course it does," said the king. "Well, and if I die, how can my flesh give immortality to those that eat of it? Your colour is golden, therefore, so it is said, those who eat your flesh become young and live so forever." "Sir," replied the king, "there is a very good reason for my golden colour. Long ago I held imperial sway over the whole world, reigning in this very city. I kept the 5 commandments, the 5 precepts, and made all people of the world keep the same. For that I was born again after death in the world of the 33 archangels of the Tavatimsa Devata realm. There I lived out my life, but in my next birth I became a peacock in consequence of my sin. However, golden I became because I aforementioned kept the precepts, the commandments." "What? Incredible! You, an imperial ruler, kept the commandments, precepts, born golden coloured as the fruit of them? A proof, prithee, prove it, come on." "I have one, sire." "What is it?" "Oh, sire, when I was a monarch, I used to pass through mid-air seated in a dual cart UFO, which now lies buried in the earth beneath the waters of the royal lake. Dig it up from beneath the lake, and that shall be my proof." The king approved the plan. He caused the lake to be drained and dug out the chariot, believed the Bodhisattva. Then the Bodhisattva addressed him thus: "Sire, except nirvana, which is everlasting, all things else being composite in their nature are unsubstantial, transient, and subject to living and death." Discoursing on this thing, he established the king in keeping the precepts. Peace filled the king's heart. He bestowed his kingdom upon the Bodhisattva and showed him the highest respect. The Bodhisattva returned the gift, and after a few days' sojourn, he rose up in the air and flew back to the golden hill of Dandaka with a parting word of advice: "O king, be careful." And the king, on his part, clave to the Bodhisattva's advice, and after giving alms and doing good, passed away to fare according to his deeds. This discourse ended, the master declared the truths and identified the birth. Now, after the truth, the backsliding brother, the monk, became a saint, Arahant. Ananda was the king of those days, and I myself was the golden peacock.